we saw that sentence stems were used 42% of the time, the structured speaking routines 38% of the time, and then the teacher modeling that academic language 55% of the time to generate ideas. But their language lacked that complexity, and that kind of is what led us to this point. So they showed limited academic vocabulary and that simple sentence structure, and so that exactly matched our Task data. So we were seeing like students were plateauing, either intermediate or high, so we're not bumping them up to that next level with the writing. Okay, so given this data, does everybody still feel comfortable, confident that academic language routines are our highest impact area?
I think absolutely it is the right focus. Looking at their writing samples, I'm seeing a lot of like inconsistencies. So we have teachers that are using these stems beautifully, but then we have some that are not using them at all. So I think if we can tighten up those routines, we will really see a huge impact on both speaking, but then in their writing as well. So I think this is great.
Okay, awesome, Michelle. So like consistency piece is exactly what we need to address through common routines.
Yep. And I agree too, the academic language routines are important, especially because our younger students need the foundation early. My only hesitation is making sure teachers feel confident modeling the stems so it doesn't feel scripted. If we built in time to practice the routines together, I'm all in.
Good point. So we'll build in that modeling time then so teachers feel natural, confident using those stems. It kind of becomes like part of their routine.
My bilingual students understand the content, but when it comes to time to like explain their thinking, they shut down or give like one-word answers. So I really think we need to be clear about expectations for the sentence complexity at each grade level.
Yeah, so like that's a good idea. Like expectations are spelled out like by each grade level. Okay, that's perfect. Pair share, which is super common. We all know about that one. There's the turn and teach, which we talked about last time, which conversations, and then partner retells. So just
And teach is going to be huge for a couple of reasons. I think for teachers, it's super quick and fast and like user friendly to stems. We'll definitely see some more like normalcy and to teach the same thing.
Routines are important, especially because our younger students need the foundation early. I'm in first grade, and my only hesitation is making teachers feel confident in modeling the stems so it doesn't feel very scripted. If we built in time to practice the routines together, then I'm all in, and I
incorporate that maybe then into our CBPL agenda. Okay, modeling that. Okay, perfect.
The bilingual students participate, but the academic language is very limited, especially when moving from like Spanish to English.
Okay.
The data reflects exactly what I see. If we increase like our structured speaking opportunities and make sentence stems non-negotiable, like we have to do this, I think we'll definitely see growth in both the TELPAS scores and their daily writing in general. My only concern is making sure that we choose routines that work in bilingual classrooms that don't slow down instruction.
Makes sense. So we'll make sure like those routines like fit in naturally with the flow of your lesson. Perfect. Okay, so turn and teach, you think gives us the biggest return on our investment? Okay, perfect. So then from a first grade perspective, which routines are developmentally appropriate for your students?
I think turn and teach works well for first grade, especially if the stems are simple and clearly posted. My kids do really well when they have visuals with the stem.
Yes, so the visual stems, right? Tight structure is going to help them stay focused and not talk about.
Think about it through the coaching lens. Turch easy to model. It's also easy to reteach, and it's easy to monitor because you are providing that model of what you are expecting. I'd love to help come up with some really specific grade level stems so teachers don't feel like they have to start from the very beginning or that they're reinventing.
Appreciate that.
So a lot of my kids, I know they want to talk, but not always in academic language.
Yes.
So the stems help them code switch and organize their thinking. My only concern is that some stems may be too long for the newcomers. So it would be nice if we could build tiered versions of each stem.
Oh, that's a great point. So like differentiated stems, making the routine more accessible, especially for our newcomers. Okay, awesome. So feel comfortable moving forward, turn and teach as our anchor routine for the cycle? Yay. Okay, now quickly let's talk about the writing component, and then we're going to increase that rigor we said every month. So I want to acknowledge a concern we talked about earlier, which was that teachers feel overwhelmed by too many templates, understandably. So to address that, we created that simplified one-page STEM bank, and you all have that. I sent that to you. So then do you want to speak briefly, Alaman, to the how it aligns with ELPS?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So ELPS specifically.
Perfect. So practicality, right? That's what we want. So if it's too long,
and I also appreciate that the stems do increase in complexity across the month.
Just kind of like recapping modeling in CBPL, doing those quick peer walkthroughs, just checking in, right? And then the coaching feedback aligned to the look fors, like the academic sentence stems and the CB routines. So.
Well, thank you, because that helps us a lot. Sometimes in the primary grades, it feels like we're juggling so many different routines, and keeping the look fors simple makes it very doable. Teacher model it would really help us out, especially in those CBPLs.
Before we finalize the section, make sure everybody feels heard. Any additional tweaks on the key components? So the simplified STEM bank, prioritizing turn and teach, monthly complexity progression, and then that coaching support. So we're going to be ready to finalize our Okie dokie. Thank you for meeting with me,
Yes,
Michelle,
yeah.
on our fun run day. So, as part of my PASL reflection, I want to revisit the plan that we implemented, the data we got that guided it, and then the adjustments that I would make if I were to repeat this process over again.
Okay.
So today's goal is to reflect honestly on our work and identify some lessons that were learned, and then think about how this experience will influence future problem solving and instructional leadership. So to start, I want to revisit the data that led us to our original instructional focus. So when we analyzed our walkthrough data, we saw that academic language scaffolds, sentence stems, and structured speaking routines were inconsistent across our bilingual classrooms, and only 42% of classrooms had visible stems, and then the structured speaking appeared in only about 38% of our lessons. So, and then we looked at student writing samples. Those showed strong idea generation, but limited sentence complexity and minimal academic vocabulary. And so they just really followed that simple sentence structure. So this aligned then with our TELPAS trends, and many students started to plateau at either intermediate or high. So in writing. So given all of that, we identified the root problem as inconsistent academic language routines. Does that still feel accurate from like your coaching lens?
Yeah, absolutely. The ideas were definitely, they were present in the student work, but the language wasn't. What really stood out to me was that there was some inconsistencies, especially when we did some walks in classrooms. Some teachers were using the stems, but others didn't use them at all. So without these common routines, students just weren't getting enough of that structured opportunity to really practice that academic language. So I still believe that this is absolutely the right focus.
Awesome. So then that consistency piece then is what drove
Yeah.
what drove the work. So so now one thing we prioritized early on was gathering input in which routines teachers could implement consistently.
Yeah.
So based on our conversations and then your coaching cycles, we identified some options. We said think, pair, share, turn and teach, academic conversations, and partner retells.
Yeah.
So then in your walkthroughs and coaching, you saw firsthand where teachers were starting to gain that traction. And then which routine stood out then as the strongest option?
That turn and teach without a question. It's structured, it's fast, it's repeatable. The teachers don't need any extra materials to implement, and it pairs really naturally with the sentence stems. So when we modeled it, teachers were able to see exactly how it could support both students speaking, but then also their writing.
Awesome. And then that matches exactly what I noticed. So turn and teach was the biggest return on investment. And the the highest likelihood of that consistent use. We also agreed we needed grade level STEM banks, visuals, and then tiered supports for especially our newcomers. Do you want to share your thinking there?
Yeah, of course. So teachers, I mean, as you know, they often feel stressed when creating stems from scratch. So providing them that bank removed that barrier. It also, those tiered stems were critical for our bilingual classrooms because we do have EBs at all levels, and so being able to meet them where they are in those stems really helped our intermediate and advanced learners with that increased complexity. So those differentiated stems were made sure that everyone could participate in a meaningful way.
Awesome. And then something you set out during that planning really stuck with me. If the routine isn't accessible for all proficiency levels, then it won't be implemented consistently. So that shaped a lot of our decisions.
Yeah.
So now reflecting on the implementation and then the adjustments that were needed if I were ever to repeat this process. So the biggest shift I would make is building in structured check-ins earlier.
Yeah.
Once we establish like those weekly CDPL touch points, then teacher implementation like improved quickly. Like we saw that immediate.
Yeah.
So then I would start earlier next time.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely where would be something that we could tweak. When we had those check-ins and when they became predictable for teachers developed that sense of confidence, and then they also knew it was coming, so they knew what they needed to have ready to go. that early consistency would really accelerate that implementation.
Perfect. And then a second change would be creating those exemplars earlier. So once we provided those examples of like strong student responses and modeling the routines, I think the expectations just became so much clearer.
Absolutely. Before we did that modeling, teachers were interpreting the routines differently based on skill and experience, but after seeing it live and what it would look like in their own classroom, that instruction tightened across all of our grade levels.
So good to hear. And then a third adjustment would be streamlining that progress monitoring tool. It was useful, but I think like a more concise version would allow teachers to collect that data without feeling too overwhelmed.
Absolutely. I think even just those small little adjustments, like maybe fewer columns or making it more concise or a simplified language, would help make it more manageable and help with that buy-in.
So one last reflection, I would communicate expectations, I think, more explicitly up front. So everything is like up front. So once the messaging was tight, teacher buy-in increased, and then bringing that clarity earlier would improve future implementation cycles.
I agree completely. Those clear expectations remove that guessing and build teacher confidence.
Awesome. So one of the biggest lessons I learned is the power of modeling. Teachers responded so much better to seeing those instructional routines in action, rather than just hearing about it and trying to go from there. And I think that's with a lot of things. And then a second lesson is like the importance of co-developing tools with the teachers. So rather than just like saying, here you go, handing them that completed product, so they had more buy-in. And then when they saw their feedback reflected in the STEM bank and routine expectations, then their investments grew.
Yes, I think that modeling and collaboration was huge. Teachers asked those deeper questions after seeing the routines live so that they could start making those connections. And then doing it together, like you said, really increases that ownership, but now they see value in it. And so they're going to incorporate it so much quicker.
Yes, that increased ownership. So I also learned that pairing coaching support with simple targeted look-fors makes implementation more manageable. So when they were just able to focus on those two expectations, we're going to really hit sentence stems hard and the turn and teach, then those improved much faster. And then we can move on to the next thing. So okay, so this process really shaped how I'm going to approach future problem-solving tasks or creating PD, that kind of thing. I'm going to prioritize early clarity, build structured systems for consistency, and then ensure that teacher input is embedded from the beginning. And then I also learned to balance support with accountability. So teachers needing to feel supported and also know exactly what success looks like.
Yeah, for sure. And I, of course, always have seen such great growth and leadership in the things that you're doing. You are always responsive and just adjusting so quickly based on the data. And you bring teachers into that problem-solving experience and process in a way that still respects their expertise. So we really appreciate that.
Thank you. And then also bringing in the primary teacher and then the upper elementary teacher, both one teacher with high-numbered EB students and then a bilingual teacher. I feel like from that lens as well, really helped to shape and move forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So thank you so much, Michelle. So going forward, I'll continue building structures that are going to support clarity, collaboration, and continuous improvement. And it's so great to have you as a partner, a thought partner, and then helping to just improve growth for all of our students.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, so what we're going to do is we're going to partner for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Coaching, insight were invaluable. I appreciate your time and your support as I complete this reflection for my PASL submission.
Yes, anytime.
Yes. So,